I want to show a couple things on screen here just so it's crystal clear where the mitochondria is and how all these different energy pathways plug in. I think it's important. I'm going to pull it up here on screen in just a second so people can see it.
Yeah, people listening on audio, they're going to be lost. So just look up Dr. Justin's YouTube page and you'll be able to view some of this stuff. Some stuff like mitochondria gets a bit geeky. The main thing here is toxins are a big factor in damaging this cycle, and you got to get toxins out, reduce exposure where you can. And we can run actually chemical tests on your urine too. So we could talk about that in a minute.
Absolutely. And so if you look here, right, you have the mitochondria right here. This is the middle part's the mitochondria, the outer part's the cytosol. So from what I understand, like creatine is going to plug more into the cytosol and glycolysis, okay? But then you're going to see you get about 2 ATP, which is adenine triphosphate, and this gets broken down to ADP and you get energy, right? And so you have glycolysis, which generates a little bit of ATP, 2, and creatine's going to plug more on the outside. Then that goes into your mitochondria. Now you have the Krebs cycle and the electron transport chain. The electron transport chain is part of also the beta fatty acid oxidation. That's how you burn fat for fuel. Okay, and so Krebs cycle, that churns around twice. And essentially what you're doing is you're gathering NAD and FADH2, or NAD and FADH are grabbing hydrogen. So NAD is going to grab a hydrogen, making it NADH. FADH is going to grab a hydrogen, making it FADH2. So I think you're going to grab, it's like 2 or 3 NADHs and then 1 FADH2. And all those hydrogens then go into the electron transport chain here. And this is where you generate most of your ATP. And again, what comes out? Oxygen comes in. This is why if you're like anemic, right, and you're not carrying oxygen well, that's why you're going to get tired. And this is going to have effect on like your thyroid and your adrenals, because the mitochondria is important for energy at all levels. And so if we have anemic issues or we're inflamed, because inflammation is going to make it harder to carry oxygen, and also nutrition, because this electron transport chain, when we run organic acid tests, we can look at citrate, malate, fumarate, succinate. These are important metabolic, essentially, inputs into the Krebs cycle that correlate with certain nutrients like amino acids, alpha lipoic acid, magnesium, B vitamins. And so we can get a window on how this Krebs cycle is functioning based on the organic acid testing at some of those compounds. And then also cysticonatate, citrate, right? These are really important. And then in the electron transport chain, we can get a window into things like carnitine and CoQ10 because they also play a major role in the electron transport chain. So we get a good window with how the mitochondria is functioning by looking at the B vitamins and looking at a lot of these nutrients. And so essentially things that can impair this, like you mentioned, pesticides, heavy metals, mold toxins, antibiotics. So all these things that have a negative input, but that's kind of how things look. So we have glycolysis is the first part that then goes into the mitochondria, and then we have Krebs cycle and electron transport chain. So these are the big 3. If you can kind of zoom out and see how it looks and how it makes sense, that should hopefully make more sense to you on that front.